Poducer.
Okay, lady, you want to be in the podcast? Come here. Come up here. Yeah. Well, today we're interviewing a dog, the first of its kind.
Dude, we're gonna get a cease and desist from like her owner. Just be
Yes,
like,
no, you can't.
She cannot be on the podcast anymore.
Her owner is a lawyer.
Oh,
So I mean, we're gonna get sued. No, it's all good. Dude, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, most definitely.
If you could just introduce yourself for the audience, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so my name's Colton. I am the CEO and founder of Prysm Talent Agency. Yeah, I mean, we basically started the agency back in 2019. Just a boutique dubstep agency, and basically expanded from there into hip hop. We have a couple rock artists on our roster now. Jam band, funk, basically just expanding into multiple genres. But our foundation was originally electronic primarily. And then, we just, I actually got hit up one day on LinkedIn by not Bone Thugs, but Busy Bones day manager. And he was like, hey, we see what you're doing with Prysm. Do you want to pitch out Busy Bone? And then that's kind of what spiraled our hip hop division, was because I got hit up one random day, one random afternoon by Busy Bones manager. It was pretty weird, honestly.
It's a good email.
It's a damn good email.
Yeah, just like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I listened to you growing up through high school. Yeah, of course, I'll pitch you out.
Yeah, thanks. Mace, are we out of focus? Yeah, it's the cameras. Thank you. That's really crazy, honestly. I didn't know that you guys started as primarily a dubstep artist management.
Yeah, so my first artist actually was Crowell. So I don't know if you remember the song Yasuo with him and Bomber.
Mace, do you remember that song?
I'm not familiar.
I'm not
So
familiar.
Yasuo was like the ha ha he he song. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I took him on before Prysm because I worked at a different agency called Feral for a short period of time. And yeah, he was my first artist that I ever represented. And yeah, it just spiraled from there, just picked up one and turned into 200. So
That's crazy. Dude, I want to talk literally all about this. I got a lot of questions, but I always like starting out with a little icebreaker fun question, which is, what was your first concert?
my first concert, it was actually Hoopla in the Hills. It was actually no, it wasn't Hoopla in the Hills. It was Wiz Khalifa and I think it was Mac Miller on that tour, or Wiz Khalifa and Kid Cudi.
Okay,
that's what it was. Yeah.
Is this like Cushion OJ days of Wiz? Like so, like the good days.
Yeah, the good days. The good days for sure.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Where was that?
That was at DTE Amphitheater. It's Pine Knob now, but it was DTE back then. So it's a big amphitheater in Michigan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good first concert. Wiz was, I remember it was like overnight Wiz got so big. Like I remember I found out about him, was listening to his mixtapes, like listening to Cushion OJ and some of the other ones. And then Black and Yellow was on the radio.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this isn't even like his best song or anything, but it's definitely a radio hit. And then all of a sudden everyone
just
knew
blew
about
the hell up. Blew up overnight pretty much.
Yeah.
And they went on that big tour, the Shed tour, the amphitheater tour. And yeah, it was a good concert for sure.
Yeah, that's dope. I love Wiz. Sorry, Wiz. I like the old stuff.
Yeah, most definitely.
Sure, he's not going to see this, so I think we're good. Cool, man. All right, now that we got that out of the way, we can get back to the agency.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
the humble beginnings. I have some questions written down about the humble beginnings. Let me just pull these up real quick. First artist, we went over that. I guess from the first artist, how do you start to snowball into more artists?
I mean, realistically, I think what had happened is that a lot of artists saw the trajectory I was putting Crowell on. The first tour that I put him on, I think it was like 15 dates. And he was kind of stagnant for a while. So I think what happened is when they saw my ability to put an artist like Crowell on tour, it kind of just snowballed. I was getting hit up by a lot of artists, as well as doing my own outreach, just seeing who was, underrepresented or, not represented at all. And then just really just hit the ground running with building my team. At the time, I think it was me, Tim, Kaylee, Scott, which none of these people are here at the agency anymore. But just building a solid group of people around me, I think, was the catalyst for success within the agency. I have Austin, which he didn't come from any music background, none, and he's one of my best agents on my team. So that just shows that if you have a willpower to drive and go out there and take care of your clients and get shows, you can do it from any background. It's just
he's got that hustle.
It's that instinctive hustle. Like if you don't have the hustle in you, you're not going to be a good agent. It's either you have it or you don't. There's no in between with it.
Yeah, gotcha. So you started with a few people. And then, I guess, I don't know, do you want to talk about, why they're not with you, or is that, a relevant thing to go down? We just didn't meet eye to eye on a lot of things. They had a certain way that they wanted to take the company, and I envisioned it a different way. Yeah.
Which, it's no harm, no foul. We didn't end on bad terms. I still work with Tim to this day.
Yeah.
He just chose to become a manager instead of, owning an agency, which, again, some people want to do it, some people don't. It was a learning curve for all of us at the time. None of us owned an agency before. None of us really knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we kind of just, A/B tested it, and some of us sticked, some of us didn't. That's pretty much business 101. You kind of got to test the waters.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally understand that. Had people where just didn't see eye to eye, and it's like, yeah, it's cool, man. And now, they're doing their own thing.
Exactly.
But it is kind of good either way, because you get to flesh out what does work, what you do like. Maybe management is more for you than,
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, but it does feel like what your thing and management are doing is a very synergistic thing, and I feel like probably at times you almost have to act like a manager.
It really depends. I think a lot of people get an agency confused with a management team. You're right. In the instance, there's a lot of in between gray areas with the booking process.
Right.
That sometimes you got to think on your feet. You just got to answer the questions and get it back to, the talent buyer in a quick fashion. However, the manager's there to actually, lay down what am I trying to say? Lay down the groundwork for the artist, and then we're there to facilitate the shows, make sure that we're getting, ticket counts and stuff. So when we go back into those markets, we'll have an understanding of, okay, well, he sold out a 300 cap room. So, now it's time to grow. Now it's time to go up to the 500, the 600, the 700 cap rooms. And then, obviously the trajectory goes up. Yeah. As far as the manager situation, their primary job is obviously to, get the label deals, make sure that their branding's on point. Make sure that their relationships are cohesive within the industry. So, both of us play a crucial role. A lot of times we do have to, as an agency, do some of the managerial things. A lot of the artists without managers, obviously we have to pick up the slack because obviously they don't have a manager. So we have to act as basically both.
Yeah.
So
it's like a manager's kind of like the parents. No, we're not going to do this. Yes, we're going to do this.
Yep, exactly.
That's interesting. Yeah. See, there's a lot of things here that I'm just learning as we go, as you're explaining this, talent buyers and management and agency. It's just
fun stuff.
Yeah. I guess one thing I wanted to ask was, when you're choosing to get someone on your roster, you know, what are the factors, and you know, when is someone not ready to be on an agency?
So I would say that it's kind of a double. There's two things in that question. So one, you have to pair an artist with someone who's equally as enthused with the project as yourself as a producer. So it's more of a relationship thing. Also, it is a marketability standpoint as well. So let's say, you know, you have great marketability, but no one on my team really vibes with the music. Well, you're back to ground zero, because of the fact that you're not going to get the same level of trajectory within your project if the agent doesn't, you know what I mean, doesn't vibe with the music. Like, you're not going to go out there and put a jazz artist with a dubstep agent. Like, it just wouldn't work. They wouldn't have the same hustle in them to actually go get it done. Now, on the marketability side, you know, we look at a plethora of different things. So Spotify, we look at engagement, we look at social media following metrics like that. There's actually this software that we use. It's called Chartmetric. So Chartmetric, basically, it scrapes everything. It scrapes Spotify. It scrapes SoundCloud. It scrapes Instagram, Facebook, everything. And then it basically, it'll even tell, like, it has every single artist in the world. Like, I could put in, you know, some bedroom producer. As long as they have like a Spotify account, it'll show up in Chartmetric.
Wow.
And then it basically rates you by your genre. So it'll give you like a rank 15,000 or something like that. You know, as to where Snoop Dogg obviously is going to be in like the top 10, right?
Yeah,
so it's really cool. And it also shows you like if the artist is ascending, if they're descending, if they're legendary status, if they're established. Like, it's the most amazing tool for when we scout artists. Because if they're on a decline, right, obviously that's not a good sign. Because they're declining with their metrics.
Right.
So it allows us to really pretty much hone in to a T on if that artist is going to blow or not, pretty much.
Whoa, that's crazy. I didn't even know about that. Is there like the Spotify way heavier? Like, does it have a different multiplying factor than like something else?
So no, it's broken into. I would have to pull it up.
Yeah, for sure. This isn't like a tutorial. It's a baseline. Yeah.
So there's like 3 different like categories. It's like network. There's network and there's 2 other ones, but basically the network would be where all your social media handling falls in. And then the music side of it, so Spotify, SoundCloud, Tidal, you know, all the other ones, they fall into a different category. And then there's another one, I can't remember what one that is, but basically they all funnel into 3 categories, and then they show you, like, you know, think of a clock or whatever. It tells, it like leans this way if they're like, if they're hot, you know,
or if the hot meter.
Yeah, the hot meter,
like,
pretty much.
We got to get this guy. He's
Exactly.
I just wanted to ask real quick. Do you ever like take a gamble on somebody on like a hunch where like maybe their metrics aren't there yet, but you're like, okay, I see something in this person.
Yeah, most
and
definitely.
Like,
and that,
we want to be there for the growth.
Yeah, and that's when the relationship element comes in. And if I really dig someone's music and I'm like, damn, this is super fucking unique, like, I got to get this guy before someone else does. I've done that a couple of times as well. Yeah, for sure.
Is there a risk involved?
There's really no risk. And the only risk is if I don't perform for my artists and I'm not able to get them shows, it makes us look bad. You know what I mean? And it does no justice for them in their career.
But if they go like act like an asshole at the venue or whatever, does that reflect on you, or does that reflect more on management?
I mean, both. You know, it's a unified team. So like, you know, we're at the front lines of actually booking that act. So the first time that a venue or a promoter reaches out, they're talking to us. They're not talking to the manager. They're not talking to the artist.
They're asking you like, hey, what artists can we...
they're asking us like, hey, we have this show, you know, who do you got for us? And if we send someone out there and they're being an asshole, you know, jumping on their
CDJs
their CDJ or their table that
Yeah,
cannot hold more than like 100 pounds, then obviously I get a phone call like this guy
Yeah.
wasn't.
This guy tipped the LEDs or the screen wall. Like,
Dude,
I've seen that video where it's like this dude's DJing and then the screen wall falls down and he's just like, this was the worst moment of my career. But then the crowd like lifted it back up and he was like, and then I came back from it. He like still hit the transition. I was like,
Right.
damn. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting. Like, oh, I don't know what's going on. My headphones just cut out. Yeah, it was weird. I was like, whoa. But yeah, like, so the other thing I wanted to ask about, there was something else there, but the one thing too is like, do you encourage your guys to get on certain social medias? Like if they're not doing it enough, like can you like,
yeah, I mean,
promote?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
when we have like our meetings with management, and obviously the artists, we talk to them frequently as well. We always obviously suggest things to obviously help us be able to sell the artist. So,
yeah,
there's situations where it's like, okay, yeah, you haven't been posting on social media. What do you want me to do? I can't get you a show when you're basically, you basically ghosted your whole platform. So, that's definitely something that we are adamant about projecting. How obviously us as being able to get the artist shows, we have to tell them what we're getting feedback from the promoters, like, hey, where has he been? What kind of music is he releasing? Like all that stuff plays into a part, and we're basically like I said, the first people to hear about it. So, when we go back to our meetings, we sit down at the table and discuss like, what are our options here? What's the plan? So.
God, there's so many questions I have. Like, when does an artist get cut? Like, how does that go? Like, has that happened? Have you had any weird experience? We don't have to name names, but it's just
I mean, there's I don't see, I get very emotionally invested into people's careers. So
yeah, you want your roster to kill it.
Yeah, but it's also very difficult for me to cut someone because it is like a friendship. It is like more than just business. I mean, you're growing something. You're not just like, it's different working for, like, let's say you went to, I don't know, like let's say you were doing sales for like, I don't know, like like an Apple store or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you're building you're building a business, but the business is an individual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's way different because you're not like doing sales for like this big corporation, right? You're doing sales for an individual. That's their livelihood. Mm-hmm. So it's really difficult to make those decisions. And quite frankly, I think I've only dropped like, I don't know, maybe 10 artists total.
Yeah.
In 4 years. So, it's really difficult to make those moves.
Gotcha.
Just because, obviously
Yeah.
you get really, it's, you get friends with them and you're like, man, this kind of sucks, but I'm not really doing you justice by you staying here either. So it's one of those things.
They change from dubstep to like hyper pop, or I mean that would almost work, but it's just like something completely different. Like
or like dubstep to like drum and bass, when obviously drum and bass doesn't really sell in the United States. However, I really wish it did because it's my favorite genre.
That is interesting because I would say that like, drum and bass and dubstep, they're so close.
They are.
But I guess if you really tease it out, there is a lot of nuance there. And
most definitely.
But I feel like drum and bass is making a big appearance.
It is,
in
and
the
there's a lot of like bigger artists that are switching over to it. So I think, in my opinion, in the next 5 years we'll see a influx of drum and bass.
Yeah, I
mean, we've seen some artists already kind of pushing it. Like Zed's Dead did 2 after shows for a festival or 2 nights at Concord here in Chicago. And the second night was drum and bass, and the EDM Chicago Facebook page just blew up with hate for it. And I don't really understand that, if it's just the new dubstep heads just not like enjoying it, or
Dude, people
Well,
are
I mean,
just
it's-
tribal.
I don't know what the
man.
hate is behind it.
I mean, it's always been hate in electronic. I swear, it's EDM EDM cancel culture crap that is just, it is what it is. But we just have to. I mean, it's music. I mean, not everyone's gonna like it. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
great thing. It's not a popularity contest. It's literally you're going there to enjoy something that your ears like hearing. It's like
The weird thing to me, and maybe I'm just like, I just like it all, like an electronic, but when I go to a show, it's like, if it's only dubstep, I'm kind of like, I could use some drum and bass in there. But like, you know what I
agree.
mean?
A little diversity, yeah, for sure.
And I don't know if it's just like when I grew up, because, we had UKF drum and bass and dubstep. And then also I wasn't in the UK, so I didn't really have to be like, oh, I'm a drum and bass head or a
Right.
dubstep head.
Right.
So any of the new genres, I've always been like, let's give this a listen. Let's give this a try. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
maybe it's just,
I mean, especially
Just
coming from
depends where you are.
coming from Detroit, we have, birthplace of techno.
Yeah.
Techno snobs are everywhere in that city.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
techno snobs are the most tribal. I will say
swear.
that.
Most definitely.
Oh man, have you ever thought about getting into the other genres of electronic?
So
or it's-
we have been, we're actively going into house music. We have a bunch of experimental. We just signed Mr. Bill and Killsmith.
Oh, let's fucking go.
So, those guys are
Congratulations.
legends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
for
dope.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And then obviously, we want to get into drum and bass. It's just, we want to do it at the right time, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot of the drum and bass heads or a lot of the drum and bass producers, are overseas,
Right.
like Headaches and Danger. So we'll see. I'm actively going after other genres though,
This is a perfect lead into just like artist acquisition. Like, I know that there's this snowballing effect when you have a certain amount of guys, but just how does the process look for if you see an artist out there and you're like, okay, I could see this guy on my roster. What's like the next step?
So, basically we email either themselves or their manager. We hop on a call. We just basically outline everything that we could do for them. And obviously get some information on them as well. Like what are their upcoming releases? What do they envision their project to be in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah.
Because those questions are what obviously leads into trajectory of growth for the artist. If they don't know what they're doing, then obviously we can't really do much to push them in a direction that they don't even know where they want to go to begin with. So really it's more so just learning about the artist. Obviously sending that initial email is crucial. Getting on the phone with them, going over all of what they have going on. Like just the other day, like we had this interview with this kid that has like 56 unreleased tracks.
Oh shit.
And we're like, okay, that's a good start. When
Are
we
they
get to-
whips or are they mastered?
They're
or
all
like,
done.
They're just good.
all done. They're
Damn.
all done. So, those are conversations that we have like, okay, this kid's got it.
Yeah.
He has the work done. Now we just got to get it in front of the people.
Because 56 tracks, if you span that out, that could be
Dude,
3
that's like
years.
2-3 years. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He has enough. He has an arsenal of music. So
Yeah. So that's a huge thing, is having that arsenal.
yeah, most definitely. And then obviously having plans to release it too. Like, have you talked to Insomniac Records? Have you talked to Subsidia? What labels are you pitching it to?
Yeah.
And obviously that way we know, like, okay, we have interest from Monster Cat, we have interest from Subsidia, we have interest from Insomniac. Like, those all come into play as well, because you could have all the music that you want, but how are you going to release it too?
And you could think it's good, and then that would probably like kind of divide you. Where like, well, maybe the labels don't really recognize it, but you're still like, man, I don't know.
Well,
This guy, I can see this.
Exactly. And then also the labels, a lot of them are booked out like a year in advance. So, having all that music, like, all right, do you already have this music set up to be released? And what's the timeline here? Because if there's no timeline and it's just sitting, then it's just, it's emptiness at that point. So.
That's interesting. See, it does definitely crosses over with the management, because you probably talk to the manager and be like, hey, what are we going to do with this timeline?
Exactly. Yeah, most definitely, because all of it trickles into bookings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a big team. You know, like that's why agents aren't necessarily supposed to be managers, because you know it's too much for one person to handle. Like it's a lot.
I mean, I feel that way as like an artist that makes music, and just like, how do I get it to all these channels?
Exactly.
It's like doing it yourself is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can do it yourself, but like
you'll have no life.
At a certain point, you need people.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I guess for people who like are maybe at that brink of like, oh, maybe I could get on an agency, like, this is going to be a really naive question, but like costs and like how does that all factor in? Is it ratio based on performance? I know that Munchie was saying
so. Costs in what respect? Like
cost from the artist to, or like what you bill the artist.
Oh, okay. So I mean, basically, it's commission based.
Yeah.
So it's normally like 10% on average. That's pretty much an industry norm.
Yeah, that's actually what Munchie was saying.
Yep. So 10% is an industry norm for all of you listening. Don't do deals for like 50% of your earnings. Just don't do it.
From an agency. Okay.
Yeah, from an agency. That's not a real agency.
So 10% is kind of like standard.
Yeah,
because there's going to be a bunch of other fees too,
yep,
right?
Yep. So 10% standard. Obviously, it's pretty standard across the board for 10.
Gotcha. And then the other thing too, I saw on your website, it's like, is there transportation? Like, what are some of the other things that get...
So when we go to book a show, right? So we'll ask the buyer, like, what's the guarantee, and then a lot of times they'll include hotel, ground, and rider. So obviously they have a place to stay. Sometimes they'll do all-in offers where the artists will have to buy their hotel, they'll have to buy their ground transportation. But the vast majority of those are pretty much hotel, ground, rider. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to ask real quick, what if you had to assign percentages on importance to building an artist based on level of music, like the production and how good it is overall versus their marketability? What would you like say?
I've actually had this conversation with a lot of artists, and they don't really like the answer that I give them a lot of the times.
Oh yeah, I had a feeling.
It's I would say it's like 20% music,
wow.
80% everything else, because you look at what's that one chick, Bad Barbie or whatever, the Catch Me Outside girl, right?
Oh, Bad Bunny?
No, it's Bad Barbie, isn't it?
Bad Baby.
Whatever her name is, like she had
like
trash music, trash music,
but it was
yet
meme.
The marketability,
yeah.
exactly. So what do you know? I mean, if you're looking at it from that concept, right, and you're looking at how big artists can get off of just complete idiotic marketability, then yeah, I would put it at 80%, because you can't get that big off of just music. Like, I don't know one artist that has just gotten instantly overnight big off of just music. They either have a label backing them, they're pumping millions of dollars into their project, or they have someone else that they're coattailing or co-signing them. It's not just like you can just make a track and be like, all right, I'm going to upload this and be a millionaire tomorrow.
I mean, it's weird because you like kind of see the viral like thing that happens with some people where they just do upload it.
And that's the cool thing with like TikTok and like Instagram Reels right now.
Yeah.
Because like you are seeing that.
Yeah.
You definitely are. But I would say the vast majority of people need the marketability, and the whole brand image is more important than the actual, the track itself.
And after that,
exactly.
Like, all right, cool, you had a hit, or like,
but how are you going to carry
viral.
it? Exactly.
Yeah. What do we do now?
Exactly. How are you going to carry it?
I mean, I had more questions about the pay, just because it's like something that I feel like a lot of people don't really get to know about until they get involved.
Yeah, most definitely.
But like insurance wise, for if there's a gig, like, if you get an artist to go, or like you book an artist to go to a show, they're on a lineup, and there's an inclement weather, or like just a multitude of factors that could interfere with them having to perform, but then, you know, they took the time to be there, or something happened that was like whatever, you know, are there situations where they're not getting paid? And
I mean, the vast majority of the promoters will still pay, and then they'll just transfer that pay over to the next year or something like that. If it's a festival, if you're talking like inclement weather and stuff like that, you know. So actually, there's a couple different situations here. So like, let's say an artist is, you know, in Montreal, right, and they're getting just bombarded with snow, right?
yeah.
And you know, they're about to hop on a flight to, let's say, I don't know, Florida, right? And they get snowed in. Now that's a situation where the promoters might ask for a refund, or, you know, a lot of times we'll just ask to reschedule the show. That way, obviously, the show can still happen at a later date.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. There's situations where, you know, the artists do, you know, obviously come out of pocket for a flight or something like that. The vast majority of times, though, no. I mean, it's a rare occurrence.
Okay.
Especially with festivals, like if they're there on site, they're getting paid.
Yeah, for sure. Like you did everything that you were supposed to do to be there and show up on time.
The only thing that would put you in harm's way of getting paid would be if you didn't make the flight based on weather, you know, obviously because you're not there. So, you know, they'll ask for some sort of solution with that. Like, okay, are we going to reschedule? You know, am I going to get a refund?
Yeah.
Those are the times when obviously, you know,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally just, there's things that are outside of your control. You just
Exactly. And the contracts, you know, pretty much every time an artist goes and plays, I mean, the contracts pretty much cover everything. Like force majeure clauses in the contract pretty much stipulate if, you know, if there's inclement weather and stuff like that, then, you know, obviously refund will be issued, so on and so forth. So, you know, it's all covered in pretty much the legal jargon of the deal.
Everyone wants it to work.
Yeah, I mean, there's the famous saying, the show must go on, you know? So.
Yeah. Well, I don't even want to talk about this because I'm so sick of talking about COVID, but you were a business during COVID.
Yes. Actually, I started my business in November of 2019.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Literally at the start of COVID. It was awful. I was like, holy shit, I made a terrible decision.
Dude, I mean, it's just like... the word COVID, I wish we could just erase it from our existence.
I try.
Yeah. So it's like, to bring it up right now, I'm like, but it's obviously like, especially in the beginning of your business.
Honestly,
like,
I look at it as a blessing in disguise because a lot of the bigger agencies disbanded or at least cut their staff down through COVID, as to where we had no overhead. So we were able to grow while they were shrinking. So it allowed us to see this golden lining and see through, you know, what everyone else was actually considering a catastrophe, but we actually looked at it as a blessing. So it allowed us to see like a golden lining in it and actually grow, you know, like it was kind of surreal. Like, I mean, I think we did like in 2020, I think we did like $100,000 in shows through COVID, because we were switching to, you know, virtual stuff. So we did a lot of like endorsement deals for our clients, which was kind of cool. And then obviously the drive-in raves were a thing. Yeah. Which actually, those were a lot bigger budgets. Really? You know, because
they had to push the sound farther.
Exactly. So like it actually kind of worked out. Honestly, it was kind of crazy for me to be like, wow, we did $100,000 in gross revenue in 2020 through COVID. Like, how the hell does this make sense as a live booking agency? Like, but I don't know, it worked. And then as soon as COVID ended and the floodgates opened, we just
you
skyrocketed.
were ready to go.
Yeah, we had time to develop all of our back end business. So when the floodgates opened, we were just off to the races.
So it was like a little reset button, honestly.
Pretty much. I mean, for the whole music industry, it was a reset button.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
really changed. Like it flipped it flipped the whole industry upside down, and it allowed people like me to come in and fill a void, which a lot of the major agencies were not fulfilling.
Yeah. You know what I think about? It's like we're almost in this like incubation period right now still, because like Lala just happened in Chicago. In my opinion, the lineup was trash.
I didn't even look at the lineup, honestly.
I mean, like, but I think it was the first sold out Lala in like 6 years, which also tells you people are like dying to go.
Right.
So I know that was probably like a hard take, and some people probably had a great time at Fred again, and I would see Fred again. Like, nothing wrong with that. But like the rest of the lineup, I was just like, who are these people?
Right.
But that's what I'm saying about the incubation phase, is that so many people's careers who were just going to go on the up and up probably got stifled. And then it kind of just put everyone back at baseline.
Pretty much, yeah.
So like, maybe not baseline, but like,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see what the next Lala lineup is. I mean, to be honest, I just haven't thought Lala had a good lineup for like a while now. But Mace, do you have any opinions about this? Because
I don't know. It's hard to say with the lineups. I also didn't really look too deep into the Lala lineup. I can have some stories about like local other festivals here that I'm just kind of like, okay, like, unnamed house and techno festival in Chicago brings back pretty much the same headliners from last year.
Yeah.
And whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're not going to say names, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I did have a question, if it's okay to just kind of jump here.
Yeah.
How much of this for you is salesmanship? You're obviously cultivating relationships with event companies, promoters, venues, all that kind of stuff. Are you ever finding yourself needing to like sell somebody who's on your roster to a promoter, or is it a lot of like, at this point they know who you are, they trust your gut, and send me somebody?
So for me, it's more relationship driven. I want to say my agents always joke with me, and they're like, "Oh, it's because you have the CEO on the bottom of your email," and I'm like, I don't really think that that's true personally. I'm because I have to sell the artist just like everyone else does. So, as far as like, yeah, obviously there's certain promoters that I know that will throw me bones, obviously, but the vast majority of them, I have to obviously go out there and make a pitch deck, make sure that I'm showing the promoter what they're doing, who they're releasing with, what unreleased tracks they have coming out. So, I would say it is salesmanship at the end of the day. Most definitely.
Is it harder to sell an artist on your services maybe than it is to sell to a promoter? I mean, where do you see kind of like the hardest point in
it really
your
just
processes?
depends. It depends on like selling it to a promoter. I mean, it depends on the marketability of the artist. If I have a bunch of information to give the artist or to give the promoter, then my job should be easy. And vice versa. If I'm selling my services to an artist, and obviously I give them all, I run them through my normal spiel, my normal pitch, it's really kind of like, I've created a system that works, I would say. So
Okay.
I would say both of them are equally as challenging as others, because both of the times, there's certain questions that come up that, obviously I have to be like, well, I don't know that, but I'll get back to you and I'll tell you. It's just honestly, it's about being truthful, open, and honest. At the end of the day, no one wants to deal with a shady ass business salesman.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I consider an agent no different. It's just like a used car salesman, or a car salesman. Don't have to use the used car word, but whatever. No one wants to deal with a shady person. So,
right.
For sure, that makes sense. What do you think about going back? I mean, like going forward, but almost like in COVID, we got like a little test of it. But the virtual reality stuff, the augmented reality stuff, like, as we're booking live events, I mean, I feel like that is going to become maybe part of it, or I don't know. Like, how do you look at the landscape of like potential new stuff?
I always looked at like the virtual reality stuff as like, I just can't see it. Like, I know I'm looking at it from my point of view. I could never get into it and
me neither. Yeah.
And like actually enjoy it. The whole point of going to a concert is being around your peers and having fun with people.
I agree. Look,
I don't know if that'll ever. I might be crazy, but I don't think it'll ever work. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question was like, how do you adapt that? But do you just, if that becomes a popularity or a popular thing, you're just like, all right, I guess we're booking people for that now.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess so. But I mean, it hasn't really, since COVID, it's kind of like, just died off. I don't get requests for like Minecraft festivals anymore. Or like, any of those things. I mean, I don't even think Fortnite is doing those like concerts. I haven't seen a concert from Fortnite since the Travis Scott one.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I never attended any of them. Just I was dying to get back out there and be with people too. So like, I completely get it. I just was curious because like, I feel like there is an inevitability that some people will not. I would say
like the whole like thought process of a metaverse, it's at the infant stages. I don't think we'll see something of substance come for the next 50 years, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's obviously my opinion.
No, I think, I mean, like, we could do stuff if we all focused on it. It'd be like, all right, maybe 15 years if everyone focused on it. But yeah, of course, there's like legislation. There's so much shit that gets in the way.
I mean, yeah, metaverse is just such a huge undertaking to fulfill. I just, it would be a big thing.
I'm not even excited about it.
No, I'm not either.
You know what I mean? Because like you hear about kids being like, yeah, we don't even like go play outside. And I'm like, now I sound like a boomer. But it's just like... I don't know, man.
I mean, we'll see though. I mean, it could turn into something big. I hope it doesn't. Personally speaking, I think it'll ruin the whole point of a concert.
The community.
I mean, literally. I mean, like festivals in general. Like you don't even have to have a music festival, but the word festival is a gathering. You know what I mean? Like you're gathering together, and to gather together on your headset or wherever you're seeing it. I don't know. That's just like...
No, because you can pull out whenever. It's not cool. Like, if there's something that's like, oh, shit, we're here. We got to, like, enjoy it, Right. Even if you're, like, weirded out by, like, a huge mass of people.
Even nowadays with, like, the whole, social media taking over the world pretty much, you can't really even interact with people like you used to before these platforms came out. And I just think that it'll be cool, right? But I just think it takes away from the being able to enjoy it,
I'm with you, man. I feel like it's almost even an issue with it, like, you're in an elevator and like you can just like pull out your phone.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, it's like great. It's a crutch, but it's I don't know. Anyway, not to go down that whole rabbit hole. I just was curious if it was kind of like on your... you're thinking about it at all.
Yeah, for sure.
But I wanted to talk about just like goals. What is like 1 year goal? What's like 5 year goal? Like, what are your ambitions?
So my goals for this agency is we have already started a creative division. So we're already starting to do like brand partnerships, brand development, social media marketing. So we've created a creative division, which is headed by Paul. He's my partner. And then obviously we're gonna snowball that. We're gonna start doing, EPKs, logo design, website design. We're gonna obviously start handling social medias for all of our clients. And then after that, obviously we want to start doing like sync licensing. So we're gonna create a sync licensing division for film. For commercials, so on and so forth, video games, what have you. Basically, how I envision this company is to become a one-stop shop for an artist to be able to walk in to our agency and say, okay, I'm lacking on this, can you help me? yes, we have this division already outlined for this specific problem. So that is my goal, and I think within the next 10 years we'll be able to fulfill it.
So if someone was like, "Oh, I really want to get placed in like a video game," you'd be like, "We got an arm for that."
Yep, exactly.
Interesting.
Are there any dream artists that you want to shout out real quick and be like, "Hey, let's talk.
Let's get you on the roster."
Man, I don't know, man. No, I don't think I have any, like, I don't know, specifics. You know,
that's all right.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to talk quickly just about like the differences between the dubstep artists that you have and the hip hop guys.
Yeah.
You know, like you have like different agents that work on the two different.
Yeah.
sides.
So Austin is the head of hip hop and rap for the agency, and then Brian is the head of EDM.
Gotcha. And like, what are the differences? Like the hip hop guys are looking for like stuff in the green room. Like, is that something you handle? Or
So yeah. So
like we need fucking Patron. No, I don't know. Like just drinks.
So I mean,
that they, like,
I mean, the writers are more or less more extensive for the
hip hop guys.
Yeah, because they have entourages. You know, even though they're one person, they have to travel with their DJ.
Yeah.
And then, like, one person could turn into an entourage of like, 6 or 7 people. So you have to get 6 or 7 hotels. More or less, it's just a bigger. It's more mainstream, right? So like the fees are bigger, the shows are bigger. Everything's just bigger. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you see that ever changing, like electronic?
I mean, well, no, I'm just saying, like, I mean, electronic is still like a niche, industry, I would say.
Yeah.
I would hope it goes mainstream, like super mainstream, like you're listening to Mr. Bill on the radio down the street, not on Sirius XM or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know.
Well, like it was kind of like mainstream for a sec.
Yeah, back in like 2012 to like 15 was like the height of EDM. And I think it's just started to cool down because, a lot of these shows, right, are 18 plus.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, how are you getting new fans in to care about this music when the live performances are tailored for adults?
And a lot of the people that produce music are like 14 or something. You're like, dude, he's the best. Like
exactly. So it's one of those things, like, hip hop concerts are primarily all ages.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, majority of the hip hop shows are all ages.
Interesting.
So I mean, you'll see like, like the primary demographic for a lot of these guys are like 16 to 22 year olds. Which for EDM, I mean, it's like 18 to 25, 26. So it's an older
crowd.
It's an older crowd than hip hop. I mean, you would even go as far as like having 14-year-olds listening to certain hip hop songs.
Yeah, for sure. Just dropping lyrics that they shouldn't be dropping.
But they still listen to it.
Yeah. Well, because it's like in my head, hip hop generally is more lewd, It's just
most
more,
definitely.
Like,
but then you go to a show and it's kind of flip-flopped, right? So the vocals in hip hop is like, out there, but then you go to an EDM show and then you're introduced with drugs, all that kind of stuff. So it's like of like a.
But it's not like the venue selling you Molly.
Well, no, yeah, most definitely.
I mean, for sure, yeah. You got the guy walking around, Molly, like, go. You're just like, who is that? I'm 14. Yeah, I guess the drug culture. I didn't think about that as much.
Yeah.
But it's not something you have to partake in.
No, not something you have to, for sure. But I think that's why electronic is primarily an older crowd, in my opinion. Because of drug culture. Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I guess for me, I just like always, once I found it, I was like, this is,
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Gotcha.
Most definitely.
Interesting. Mace, do you have any other questions? I know that we're trying to also keep this to like, a quick.
I want to know, and you don't have to go too deep into it, but if you were going to give me a pitch on Prysm right now, what is it about you and Prysm that makes you guys stand out that you want to convey?
I wanted to ask the same thing.
So basically one of our biggest pitches is that, we pay weekly when a lot of our competition pays monthly. So we're able to obviously get deposits out quicker. We're able to settle out shows quicker than a lot of our competition. We're also smaller and have the ability to tailor our focus on more artists because of the fact that we don't have a Skrillex or something like that taking up a lot of our bandwidth. And then also we work as a unified team as opposed to having like a singular agent working on let's say 20 artists. So instead of being like, okay, this is my artist, we don't do that. If we need help on something, we're able to talk to one another and basically unify our team so we're able to push out more contracts, more shows.
It's collaborative.
Yeah, it's collaborative. Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good place to work too.
My team is amazing. It's so homegrown and such a family-oriented place. My whole team, every time we get off the phone with each other, we say we love each other, and it's not, you know what I mean? But it's a good work environment because no one wants to go to work every day and get bitched at or feel less of a person. Like no one wants to do that. You know?
Yeah.
So
that's wholesome. Also, with the industry, the better you do as an agent and as a team, it's all good for everyone.
Most definitely. I feel like a lot of the times, there's not that family-oriented structure around music. I feel like it's just pump out as many dollars as you can, then if you're not worth it, kick you to the curb. I just don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big reason that I started my agency to begin with, because I was a promoter and I just felt shafted a lot of the times. So
in what way? Just you couldn't get people in?
I mean, I lost thousands upon thousands of dollars getting overcharged by artists, or overcharged by agencies for their artists, stuff like that. So
gotcha. Okay.
What makes a good talent agent? Aside from that hustle culture that you talked about earlier, I mean, what if you were looking at somebody, what's going to make them really successful?
They have to be a self-starter at heart, completely through and through self-starter. You have to think on your feet and be able to problem solve very quickly. Because there's a lot of times that you're not, there's a different problem. And that's why I love this job, is because there's a different problem every day. And I like chess. I like chess. I like the ability to think outside the box and correct problems as they come up quickly. You gotta be a multitasker. You gotta obviously know music. And you just gotta be able to, make friends, really.
That's awesome.
Get connected with the people.
Yes. 100%.
With your artists and stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
It sounds like a cool little, not little, but just a gig for everyone.
Yeah,
but
it's fun, man.
Good, man. Well, I wanted to just wrap or, end with a question that I always end with, which is, we talked about what was your first concert, and this could be interesting for you because it could almost be like a concert that you booked too. But what was the craziest, most impactful concert that you went to? Or potentially have booked someone for, and maybe even a concert that you potentially are going to book some more. That was 3 questions, but just you could think about all of it.
I would say no. I already know. Honestly, it was the festival that I threw. It was Up North Music and Arts Festival, and it was the biggest learning curve of my career. I was 19 years old.
Oh, damn.
I was 19 years old, and it was a beautiful shit show. It was a beautiful shit show.
Yeah.
But I learned basically the ins and outs of everything that goes into, doing an event at that size. And we did about 5,000 people. We had Ganja White Night playing, back when he was a $2,000 DJ.
When you were damn, that's crazy.
yeah, and that was the most impactful festival that I've ever been through, because I got called out online by it and a bunch of other shit, and
like people hating on the actual event.
Yeah, people hating on the event, like it was a whole thing, but it drove me to get to where I am now. So I saw all those failures, trials, and tribulations, and I overcame every single one of those obstacles. So that was the most impactful event, I would say.
I feel like throwing a festival, you get into every little nook and cranny of the industry. You got to think about like speakers. You got to think about getting water for people.
We had to basically build a reservoir.
Really?
That weekend, yes.
What was like the hardest task to figure out for the fest?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. It's just like
I mean, like there was no one task that overtook everything else. It was, just the licensing in itself was a task. Communicating with evacuation plans. I mean, everything was a hurdle. You had noise ordinances that you had to get passed through the township. Like it was a whole ordeal. The insurance. All of it. Liquor licenses.
How did you just had to figure it all out on the fly?
Well, I had I had 4 other partners.
Okay.
I had 4 other partners. So, my uncle actually met this cat, Chris Ponder, it was like at this park, right? And I told my uncle, I was like, I'm going to throw a music festival. Like, and he was like, well, I just met this guy that, has a lot of experience, whoop-de-whoop.
And like, you're like, okay, uncle. Or like,
but then I got introduced to him and I was like, holy shit, this is actually going to work.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see how it all came together, as a 19-year-old kid with, obviously just straight out of high school.
Yeah.
It was surreal to see how it all came together.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that.
I'm looking at the lineup here too for up north. If it's the same one, was it Louis the Child was headlining? G Jones,
that was year
Big
2.
Wild.
Yeah, that was year 2.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
This is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the ads for that too.
Yeah.
Louis the Child, actually, they went to our high school.
Oh, no.
So we were, following them pretty heavily, and that's so cool, man.
Nice.
I did not know that was you.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I'm just still thinking about like when your parents tell you that something's going to be good for you and you're just like, yeah, I don't know.
You're right. Yeah. My mom, obviously she was like, you're going to do all of this. You're going to do this for work. And I've never done anything different with my life. It's always been music.
That's awesome.
It's always been something in music.
I guess something we should have asked is like, did you play music? Were you a producer at any point?
I was, back when I know, but back when I was in I think middle school, I was like the lead role in our musical.
Oh, nice.
So
what was the musical? Do you remember?
I can't even remember. I can't even remember.
Just some random one.
Yeah, just some random musical.
Cool, man. Well, I mean, there's a lot of other questions I'm going to try not to ask because I don't want to just seem super naive here, but I feel like
You're good.
There is a lot of stuff that, you laid out, and I appreciate that because like I said, this is the podcast for producers. So many producers are like, I mean, in my mind, some of them are like 14 and they don't know anything about the business. So I feel like the potential for them to hear someone who's in the industry doing this stuff, like how shit actually works, I think is invaluable. So I just appreciate you.
Most definitely, because anyone can get there. All it takes is a dream.
Yeah.
And motivation and dedication. You can get anywhere you want in life.
Yeah. And potentially having a team, right? Like there might be a point where like,
and being marketable.
Yeah. Being marketable.
Yeah. That was probably like the biggest thing. Yeah, just like get those socials up, baby.
Yeah. Gotta be an influencer nowadays. It's kind of
I hope we turn the corner on that at some point.
I hope so too, man. I hope so too. Going back to the days where you're selling CDs on the side of the street to get people to come to your gigs.
I mean, I don't know if I want to go back to that though either.
It was so much more genuine though. Like it's like, fuck, dude. Like, why are we still like just being like, oh, cool pink hair? How about you give me a good song? Like, Like that's. I wish it was like that.
I get it. Yeah, when you put that CD in that you bought off the street, you're like, what am I about to hear? Like, is this going to be a banger? Or even if it's bad, you're probably like, I supported that guy.
Right?
Maybe you make fun of it and you're, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we should do that.
The guy at Jersey Mike's gave me his Spotify and I listened to it and I was like, it was almost ear piercing, right?
Really?
I mean, oh my God, I was suffering through it, but I'll always respect him for just being like, hey man, check out my Spotify. All right.
Yeah,
sick.
yeah, exactly.
I don't even have half those balls to be able to say like, listen to my music. Like
me and Munchie were at this bar down the road from me. And this guy was like, we were just talking. He was like, yeah, I make beats. And he pulled out his phone, and I kid you not, he was making like Lord of the Rings style beats. Like
man.
we were like, holy shit, dude!
Like, was it like Lord of the Rings, like, and then it had a beat behind it, or it was like
no, it was like some gothic, fucking like I'm gonna kill you type music. Like, dude, it was like
Sauron, fucking emerging.
That's sick.
I like respect that though, you know what I mean? It's just like, all right, man, maybe you'll perfect that.
Well, in looking at the kid, you would have never guessed it when he pulled that out. I'm like, holy shit, dude!
Was he playing it just over a phone too? Like to your like, dude, no, yeah, this part. Yeah. This is when the orcs, raid Helm's Deep.
Yes,
it's like,
dude.
wait, what?
100%. That's exactly how it went.
Oh man, God, that's so fun. I just like. Maybe we'll start like handing out USBs or something of.
It's old school, but it works. That's how Skrillex met Deadmau5 and how he got him his music is like he handed him a USB and was like, hey, I make music. Check this out. And then boom.
Lo and behold.
Scary Monsters. Yeah.
Yep.
What do we put on a USB as a podcast? Like,
oh man, just like malware. And just make all their computers like listen to our podcast.
You like plug it in and it like makes them subscribe or something stupid. Dude,
great.
That would be crazy. I'm not malicious like that, but that would be cool. All right, dude. Well, we can keep going on the tangents, but thank you for coming through.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Oh, any shout outs?
Want to shout out Electricity. Want to shout out Brian. He's been killing it. Obviously Austin. Yeah.
Cool. Guys, go listen to another episode.
And check out Prysm too.
Yeah, you definitely got to check out another episode.
Thank you. All right, peace.